Ms Perry, do you wish to take the oath or the affirmation?
Don't know the difference.
So the affirmation is giving a solemn promise to the Commission to tell the truth without the use of the Bible. The oath is giving that same solemn promise
Affirmation
using
is
the
more my
Bible.
style.
Thank you. Could you repeat after me, please? I do solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm that the evidence I shall give in this Royal Commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you. Just take a seat right where you are, please.
My name's Ainsworth. I seek leave to appear for this purpose.
No objection to that.
No objection.
No. Thanks, Mr Ainsworth, and I'll accept your application and grant that leave.
Your name is Lucy Perry?
That's right.
And you made a statement to the Royal Commission, and you did that on the 19th of February 2015?
Correct.
What you say in this statement is true?
Yes.
I tender that statement.
23.33.
Ms Perry, I invite you to read your statement, please.
This statement made by me accurately sets out the evidence that I am prepared to give to the Royal Commission into institutional responses to child sexual abuse. The statement is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. My full name is Lucy Perry. I was born in 1973. I am 41 years old. I was born in South Africa, following which my parents and 3 older siblings moved first to England, then to Sydney in 1981. Perry is my married name. My maiden name is Schaffler. I started school at Wahroonga Public School, which is known as the Bush School. In 1984, I moved to Turramurra Public School, where I completed Year 5 and Year 6. I completed my high school years at Roseville College, an Anglican girls' school on the North Shore of Sydney. In 1989, I was in Year 10 at Roseville. I heard that Knox Grammar School were putting on a performance of Guys and Dolls, a musical I had recently been involved in at Roseville. Knox had invited girls from Pymble Ladies College and Abbotsleigh Girls School to audition for the female roles in the musical. Roseville did not receive an invitation. Some other girls from Roseville and I decided that we would go along to the Knox audition for the show, even though we weren't invited. 3 of us were selected for parts in the show. I would estimate that all up there were about 100 students involved in the production. There were 2 main teachers from Knox involved in the musical. One of the teachers, I don't recall his name, was in charge of the music, while Dr Patterson, the headmaster of Knox, was responsible for the acting and production side. I believe Dr Patterson was present at every rehearsal. Rehearsals for the musical were initially twice a week for 3 or 4 months. All the rehearsals took place in the old hall at Knox. As the performance dates grew nearer, rehearsals were also conducted all day Saturday as well. I was cast in the main ensemble, and all of the parts I was involved in were groups of students. On one occasion, I was backstage talking with some of the boys when Patterson appeared, pointed at me and one of the boys and said, "You and you're out." I believe Patterson was kicking me out of the show, so I left the school. Despite being told to leave, I returned to Knox and participated in the next rehearsal. Patterson was present and recognised me. I was the only girl in the show with short hair. Patterson said, "It appears that there are some people here today who I sent home last time. Let's hope they behave from now on." I took this to mean that I was allowed back in the show. At one of the full dress rehearsals, we were rehearsing a scene which is set in a strip club. In this particular scene, all of the girls involved were dressed in costumes, including feather boas and full-length wraparound skirts over a black leotard and fishnet stockings. We were to form 2 lines and then walk out onto the stage with our arms across our chests in a very sultry manner. I did my best to perform to what I thought was expected, while the rest of the girls just ambled out on stage. Patterson stopped the rehearsal and singled me out. He asked me to show the girls how I walked out, as it was exactly how he wanted all of us to do it. I re-performed my sultry walk. Patterson was standing right next to where I was supposed to stop. I showed everyone my entrance, and all of the girls were returning to practice the scene again. As I turned away from Patterson to walk to the back of the stage, he placed his hand on my backside. I would describe it as between a pat and a grope. He then slid his hand right down to cup my buttocks and I felt him touch my genitals outside of my clothing. I turned around and saw Patterson had what I would describe as a creepy look of satisfaction on his face. At the time, the scene we were rehearsing only involved girls, so all the boys were sitting on the floor right in front of the stage. The assault occurred in plain view. I was humiliated in front of the boys and I heard the boys cheering. I heard Patterson chuckling. I quickly walked off behind the stage. I didn't say anything to Patterson after the event. I really wanted to be part of the performance and I knew if I said anything to any of the teachers, I would be kicked out of the show by Patterson. I also did not tell my parents. My parents are the sort of people that when something goes wrong, they believe it's your own fault. I probably spoke with some of my friends about what a creep Patterson was, but I'm not sure I told them what happened. I was disgusted with Patterson's behaviour and thought that he was demonstrating to the Knox boys that it is perfectly acceptable, even admirable, to be disrespectful to girls, and was promoting a misogynistic attitude at the school. To access the girls' change room in the school hall, girls had to walk through the boys' change room. When doing this, some of the boys were at times rude and nasty, making comments, ridiculing and teasing the girls. I thought to myself, no wonder they are like that. Look at how the headmaster behaves. I didn't think too much more about the incident. I wasn't traumatised by the experience. I don't believe it has impacted negatively on my life. I did not report the incident to police at the time because I wasn't interested in pressing charges against Patterson. In 2009, I saw media coverage relating to the arrest and charging of teachers at Knox for child sexual abuse. I decided to report Patterson's assault on me to police. I didn't report it so that Patterson would be charged, but I wanted to let police know that I was happy to provide a statement if it was going to be useful to demonstrate the culture of disrespect engendered at the school and to highlight the environment and attitudes fostered by the headmaster. On the 9th of March 2009, I reported the matter to Hornsby Police. I heard nothing further from the police and was not asked to provide a statement.
Thank you. Just three things, Ms Perry. I forgot to ask you, what's your present occupation?
I'm a Chief Executive Officer
of
a charity called Hamlin Fistula Ethiopia, Australia Limited.
In paragraph 11 of your statement, you make reference to the boys were sitting on the floor right in front of the stage. Mm-hmm. Do you remember approximately how many of them?
I don't recall, but I do recall the absolute roar that they made when they saw the assault. So it may have been the entire cast of boys, it may have been part of the cast. So it could be 40 boys, 80 boys. It was a big enough gang to make quite a roar.
Can I show you this document? I'll at the same time hand up copies for your Honourable Commissioner. Do you recognise the document that I've just handed to you?
Yes, it was the program for the musical.
So it's a program for Guys and Dolls in the year in which you were in that production. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure whether it can be shown on the screen, but on the front page, it's got down the bottom, Knox Grammar School presents, correct?
Correct.
And over the page records Knox Grammar School presents Guys and Dolls, correct?
That's right.
And is it the case that over on that second page, if we can scroll down to that on the screen, sorry, the page headed Knox Grammar School, the producer is recorded as being Dr. Ian Patterson?
Correct.
And if we could go over to the next page, I'll withdraw that. It's the final page of the document. Mm-hmm. On the left of the final page, on the left are the characters, and there, to your recollection, the characters who had the main roles in the musical?
Principals, yes.
And the chorus records the other people in the production.
That's right.
And if you look on the far right-hand side, about halfway down that column, starting with Andrew Mears. About halfway down the page, there's recorded Lucy Schaffler.
That's right, that's my maiden name.
And that is you.
Correct.
Commissioners, may I just ask Mr Lloyd to consider seeking an urgent suppression order of the names of the students, apart from the present witness?
Just pardon me. We'll certainly consider it, but I can't presently advised understand what the reason for a suppression order would be. There's no suggestion that anyone's made that any of the people listed have suffered any sexual abuse. Or
It's actually,
Concern, Mr Watson.
the concern is more this, that it's suggested that a large number of boys responded in a particular way, and
Concern that may cause inquiries to be made,
yes,
and approaches to be made generally.
It's only that.
well,
I want to make it clear, I've got no instructions whatsoever to contest that these events occurred.
Yeah.
It's not for that reason, it's just actually just as a precaution.
Yes.
I don't appear for these lads, but
perhaps, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt Mr Watson, but perhaps the safest course, Your Honour, would be to make a suppression order now and then for the matter to be reconsidered as to whether it's continued.
A do not publish order with respect to the document that hasn't yet been tendered and
yes,
is going to be tendered, that contains the program for the Knox Grammar School production of Guys and Dolls.
Yes, and it might be just as well, Your Honour, for the non-publication order to extend to the entire document at the moment.
Yes.
Rather than just the last page.
Yes.
perhaps it should be removed from the screen in that event. Thank you.
I tender that document.
23.34.
Those are my questions for this witness.
Anyone at the front bar table with any questions of Ms Perry? Mr Harrowell.
Thank you. Ms Perry, my name's Harrowell. I appear for Dr Patterson. I wonder if the witness could be shown the document at tab 315 in the tender bundle. And if we could scroll down, I think it's the, keep going, it's the fourth page as well, eighth page, fourth page, is it? Fourth page, if we keep scrolling down. Yes, that's. Are you able to see that, Ms Perry?
Yes.
That, would you like to just read the text there?
You'd like me to read it?
No, just give you an opportunity.
Just read it to yourself.
I understand.
Yeah.
So where do these words come from? They come from my original police statement?
I don't think you've actually made a statement, have you?
Not in official police terms.
No.
There's just inaccuracies here, if
Yes.
that matters.
If I could just explain that document, you probably haven't seen that document before.
No, it's the first time I've seen it.
That document is produced by New South Wales Police. That's their record
Okay.
of the incident as reported to them.
Okay. It didn't happen backstage, so that may be an error on the police officer's part.
Or could it be your error?
No, I doubt it.
So you're convinced that this...
I know exactly where the assault happened, and it wasn't backstage.
So you're convinced that this happened on stage in full view of a number of people, including a number of Knox boys?
Yes, I'm convinced because that's what happened.
Yes. And aside from the Knox boys, was anyone else there? Were their parents there, for instance?
Not that I recall. There may have been someone there playing the piano, but I don't recall who that was or where they were in relation to where I was standing on the stage.
So you say, your evidence is that Dr. Patterson engaged in the conduct you put in your statement in full view, full public view, if I could put it that way.
That's right. I had to assume that the audience of boys had seen it because of their reaction. They roared with approval.
That didn't happen slightly earlier when the chorus came onto the stage?
No.
You sure about that?
Absolutely.
Is there anyone else who corroborates your story that you know of?
Not that I'm aware of.
Nobody.
No.
What about your friends who were performing with you?
It was my bottom that was being touched, not my friends. So the assault happened to me, and they wouldn't have seen it. They were towards the back of the stage.
So you were at the front of the stage?
That's right.
So they were behind you?
There were 2 rows of girls that had to walk on stage and meet in the middle, and I was at the front of a row of those girls. So when I did that properly, Dr. Patterson asked me to do it again, and the girls filed towards the back of the stage to watch me do that. So I turned around to head back to backstage where we could start again. So my bottom was facing the audience. That audience was a bunch of boys sitting on the floor in the hall.
Oh, I see. So Dr. Patterson was between you and the front of the stage and the other girls?
He was next to me, yes.
Next to you, as you say. See, I would suggest to you, Ms. Perry, that the events you've described here didn't happen at all, and that if there was any contact with anyone on that stage, it would only be for the purpose of putting them in their position on the stage.
Well, I would suggest to you, Mr. Harrowell, that positioning girls by their bottom would not be the best way to do that.
I'm not suggesting that to you either, Ms. Perry. What I'm suggesting to you, and what I'm putting to you, is that Dr. Patterson never touched you as you suggested, and if he did anything, it was simply trying to direct you as he would direct other cast members.
I understand that, but you are paid to suggest that he didn't do that. Ms. Perry, what you are putting against Dr. Patterson is a very serious matter. It is, I agree. I don't do this for fun. No, nor do I, with respect. This is a very serious matter. There is no evidence from anybody else who witnessed this incident put before this Royal Commission. None whatsoever. And yet there was supposed to be a large number of people there.
I object to this. Is that a question or is it just a general summary of the evidence?
Well, I'd suggest to you, if it caused the reaction, which you suggest it does, that would be remembered by more people than yourself. I suggest to you that it happened to me, and that in neuroscience, that very negative experiences are remembered long before positive ones. And that was a very negative experience for me, and I'll never forget it. I was 15 years old and an old man was touching me where he shouldn't. I will never forget that. But no one else on that cast was touched by him that way, as far as I know, so I wouldn't expect them to remember it. Certainly I wouldn't remember it if it happened to someone else at any old rehearsal. Never saw it happen to anybody else at any rehearsal? I don't recall seeing anyone else touched inappropriately by Dr. Patterson. And this event occurred in 1989, and as I understand, the trigger for reporting it was the public knowledge of the arrest of a number of male teachers at Knox. Is that correct? That's right. I actually had an employee at the time who was sitting at the desk next to me. Her son was in Trelaw's class the day he was arrested. She received an email from Knox
And I've never seen someone read an email and cry so immediately into her keyboard as I did that staff member. So it was acutely brought to my attention by a staff member whose young son was in Trelaw's class the day he was arrested. Then it was all over the news, and I only brought it to the attention of the police to assist.
Was Mr. Trelaw part of the production?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
So how would it assist in relation to Mr. Trelaw?
I had to assume that police were investigating Knox in general.
I see.
And Dr. Patterson was the headmaster for a long time.
No further questions.
Anyone else from the back bar table? Any re-examination, Mr. Lloyd?
Just one question, Your Honour. Ms Perry, in answer to a question that Mr Harrowell asked you, you said something to this effect, that you weren't doing this for fun. Why have you come forward now?
I can't think of a Royal Commission I'd rather assist more than one that is looking into the institutional responses to child sexual abuse. I just wanted to be able to assist the Royal Commission with details about an incident that, though that incident hasn't had a negative impact on my life, it may help the Royal Commission to build a to build a story for what the culture was like at Knox.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Ms Perry. Thank you for your attendance, and you're otherwise excused.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I didn't ask you, Mr Ainsworth. I assumed you would get to your feet if there was anything you wanted to put.
Sorry, I didn't need to then, I do now, pardon me, but no, there's nothing I needed to do after that.
All right, and I'll otherwise excuse you too if you wish to be excused from the bar table. Thank you.
Speak to the client.